The Final Furlong podcast is proudly brought to you by Jeff Banks Bet. Join the excitement and sign up to Jeff Banks online now to get 10% off any net losses returned as cash after your first month of betting up to £500 at jeffbanks.bet. Welcome on to the Final Furlong podcast. It is great to have your company and great to be joined by a fantastic broadcaster to review Royal Ascot again. Ali Vance, welcome back to the show. And one of the most famous bookmakers in British racing, Jeff Banks, is here with some more hot takes. And what was an incredible week of British racing. Jeff and I have been very critical of a lot of things in British racing. I think we have been right to be critical of those things, but we're going to struggle to criticize. Jeff might be able to find something, but we are going to struggle to criticize an epic 5 days of racing at Royal Ascot. Ali, you were there for 3 of them. How good was it from your perspective?
Yeah, it was brilliant. It was great. Hi, guys. Sorry I didn't get the memo about being on YouTube and I'm sitting on my sofa with my old T-shirt, but sorry about that. After Royal Ascot, yeah, it's nice to put the slippers on and sit down. It was lovely. I think the weather helped. The fact that the King and the Queen were there for every day. I know the King was only there for 4 days, but there was just a really good crowd. And walking around the place, I know we're going to discuss this a bit later on, aside from the racing, there just doesn't, it was just easy to get around, easy to get a drink, no queues for the loos, didn't see any scuffles, any fighting, anything like that. It was just had a sort of very feel-good, happy atmosphere about it for the days that I were there anyway.
Yeah, I said in 2019 that I preferred the experience of Royal Ascot to Cheltenham as much as I love Cheltenham, and the trolls came for me in their droves. They did not like that. I don't think even the angriest of or most bitter of trolls, watch the YouTube comments go bananas now, can really debate that anymore, Jeff. You've just got multiple odds-on favourites at Cheltenham, a watered-down, diluted product. As much as I love it, it has been watered down. Whereas 5 days of truly competitive racing, that's hard to beat.
And absolutely. I mean, you know, as a bookmaker, we find like 7 races quite difficult to cope with. Like you go on quite late, but you have to say that by comparison to, I mean, Cheltenham just doesn't parallel Royal Ascot for the quality of the racing. It simply does not. We like to think it does, and we've still got that lovely betting factor that, you know, everybody loves about Cheltenham. But the fact of the matter is that Ascot has full field events throughout its card, throughout its program, plenty of competitive racing, not a single odds-on chance. And that's really important to the sport. It has a sprinkle of Australian horses. I think it actually had an American horse, but maybe I might be wrong there. It certainly had a diverse number of entries coming through to French horses as well. So overall, as a product, it's also, as Ali points out quite correctly, it's got a great feel-good factor to it. It's a very enjoyable race meeting to attend. It's well run as a racetrack. It's very smart. When they put thoughts into little things, which should be important to anybody delivering customer service. Like, for example, how you serve a drink, what it's served in. For example, branded cups, branded champagne glasses, branded coffee cups, and all this kind of stuff. So the little things are looked after, and no queues for the toilets for the ladies. I'm very happy to report that I never saw any major queues outside the toilets, which I think is critical to the ladies. So I think all in all, it's easy to get into the track. Obviously, the drive-in is a bit of a pain, but there's a lot of people going. You must expect that. But actually entering into the track, there was a dog that I saw, a sniffer dog, that had a look at me and everybody else, but it was well back from the entrances, so there was basically no delay. So in terms of organisation, in terms of the quality of the racing, the delivery of the product, what Ascot actually delivers, there's no question in my mind, it still remains the greatest race meeting in the world. There isn't another race meeting that is even close to Ascot in terms of the whole package. It still remains the greatest product in the world, and one that other racetracks should aspire to.
I completely agree with that, and I hope that Cheltenham and Epsom would reach out to them. Like, it's not that difficult for the Jockey Club to just reach out to Ascot and go, hey, what are you doing right that we can learn from? And I'm sure Ascot would be more than happy to share their wisdom with them. But they are clearly doing things right when others just aren't. And we had the Moose, Ian Abrams, as part of our broadcast on TalkSport 2 all week, and he loved every second of it. He got some great content in the winner's enclosure. But he was talking to Nick Smith towards the end of our coverage, and he asked him, look, we're having such a great time here. Like, would you ever consider a 6-day Royal Ascot? And instantly Nick Smith went, never happen. Absolutely not. It will never happen.
Please, no.
And that's such a refreshing thing to hear, because like Ali's in stitches laughing there, but rightly so. 2 years ago, they were seriously considering a 5-day Cheltenham Festival. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's from the award-winning journalist Lee Mottersett. They were looking at that. And it's this disconnect. Ascot know what the audience want, they know what the fans want, and they work hard to give it to them, Geoff, whereas other tracks, I'm afraid, are just trying to figure out what they can extract from the fan as opposed to what a great experience they can give them.
But I think the one thing that, I mean, of course, I don't want to bore people, but all I'm about is the racing. I want to see good quality racing. I want the focus to be on the product, whereas too many tracks are focused on other products which have nothing to do whatsoever with the racing product. And I think, although, of course, there's an impressive amount of drinking going on at Ascot, it remains about the racing. You can argue that, you know, the racing is is compelling, is competitive, it's fun to watch. There's a lot of exciting finishes, straight mile, round mile, whatever it is. You know, it's good quality racing from the start. So it isn't about other things. Whereas I would say, you know, Epsom, places like tracks like Epsom, I find disappointing because it just appears to be about just how much alcohol can be sold. Oh, and by the way, there is also some racing going on.
Yeah.
Too many. I want to see competitive racing. I want to see the evaporation of odds on chances and 5-runner races and nonsense like that, because Cheltenham does have some serious problems to tackle.
Yeah, I agree, because I think that the bottom line is that people go to Cheltenham far more to watch the racing than they go to Ascot in terms of the percentage of the crowd. The people at Royal Ascot, let's say 40% are there to really watch the racing, whereas at Cheltenham you're looking at 60 to 70%. Therefore, Cheltenham have to get the racing right, whereas Ascot can get away with a few weak years. This year wasn't like that, but Cheltenham really, I think the pressure is on more at Cheltenham to get competitive racing. And there's a good article in the Racing Post. I don't know who wrote it, but there was 7 odds-on favourites across 27 races at Cheltenham and 1 at Ascot across 35 races. And just, you know, the number of runners, so many in every division at Cheltenham, at Ascot. There was not a weak area. I mean, obviously going to get big fields in the handicaps, but even as at the 3-year-old Group 2s and 3s were just getting so many numbers of runners, which is just really positive. Just shows that there's perhaps a quantity of good flat horses, and maybe Cheltenham need to sort of readjust with the quantity of top quality jumps horses.
I mean, it also highlights the fact when you talk about 7 odds-on chances at the Cheltenham Festival, with 7 odds-on chances is an absolutely abhorrent number. That, and I did hear some refreshing news this week about for example, they're now going to cap the rating of horses at the Mayor's Hurdle, basically, which has been a long overdue measure. And they need to expand that program to support its major races. It's not just got to be about the fact that the Mayor's Hurdle is drawing runners away from the Champion Hurdle. We've got the Ryanair and horses like that are potential Gold Cup horses dipping into the Ryanair simply because, we don't want to race against these horses. All this kind of attitude, this kind of policies have to change. And it's refreshing to see that Cheltenham's starting the move towards capping the maximum rating of horses in races and giving every owner a chance to have a winner at the Cheltenham Festival. And more importantly, if you're going to run up against Annie Power in the Mayor's Hurdle, for example, or Vautour in the Ryanair, for example, these horses are of such impressive form and everything else, you're just putting off the rest of the horse racing ownership society from running your horse there. You go, well, what's the point? There's simply no point. I think it was Mr. Maloney, Peter Maloney, who was the breeder of Honeysuckle, trying to tell us this week nonsense, the absolute nonsense that he's talking, that capping the Mayor's Hurdle is a poor move for the Mayor's programme. I mean, he's talking absolute piffle. Never seen such piffle in my life. So Honeysuckle was a Grade 1 performer who should have been running in the Champion Hurdle this year, dipped into the Mayor's Hurdle. How does that encourage lesser owners with much lesser money to spend to purchase horses to be involved in a Mayor's programme? Tell me how that happens. So we need to carry through what the Jockey Club have announced this week. throughout the programme to reevaluate the whole programme at Cheltenham, to reduce the number of odds-on chances, to make the racing more competitive, and to recognise that there are different standard races across the programme, and they should have different grades, different banding for their horse racing there, to make the whole programme uber competitive and make sure that horses like Honeysuckle, like Kavega, like Annie Power race in the proper race for them, which is the Champion Hurdle. And if they get beat, so be it.
See, this is the kind of gold that I'm missing from British horse racing broadcasting, because you were saying this on the morning line. You were really riling up Ruby Walsh back in the day. And to be honest about it, Geoff, I didn't like it. I completely disagreed with you at the time. I thought your comments about was Quavega really that good? I was just obviously designed to wind up Ruby to a certain point, but also looking back on it, you're right. Like, she won 6 mares hurdles. That's an incredible achievement. It's phenomenal. We can all stand and have a drink. Hopefully, please God, touch wood, the three of us will have a nice drink of something strong next year in the Quavega Bar at Cheltenham. But that's not what that race was meant for. Like, it's meant to give a mare a chance to be able to win a graded race at Cheltenham. But the proper Grade 1 horses should be running in Grade 1 races. And that simply hasn't been happening.
No, it has not been happening. And I remember Ruby Walsh in that famous interview. Of course, views were divided at that time. But when you talked about Quavega, Ruby Walsh tried to tell me at that time how durable Quavega was as a mare. A horse that only ran 2 to 3 times a year. I mean, what a joke. I mean, what an absolute joke. The fact is, she was a Grade 1 performer, and she should have been taking her chances in the Champion Hurdle of those days and could well have won Champion Hurdles. It was a failure of the ownership. It was a failure of the trainer to recognise that Quavega should have taken her chance. And look, if she'd have got beaten in the Champion Hurdle, so what? So what? Yeah. She did her absolute best in life. Winning the Mares Hurdle, that's nothing. It's nothing. Let's be honest. I mean, five Mares Hurdles, oh, that's nice. But it's not what Annie Power was capable of doing, for example, when she would have won the Mares Hurdle by 100 yards. But when she went on to be one of the greatest winner of the Champion Hurdle of recent times. What the hell was she doing in the Mares Hurdle in the first time? Why? Because Forheen was in the Champion Hurdle, and Richie, the common owner, of course, of both of those horses, wanted to go up to the podium and pick up 2 prizes. And that was all that it was about. So racing has to suffer. So that particular owner gets up 2 prizes. But it's wrong. Bad policy.
Yeah, and
then it shouldn't be a Grade 1. If it's, and if you're what you're saying, it shouldn't be a Grade 1.
The mares, the mares.
The mares.
I don't know who the mares is. I think it's
a Grade 2, isn't it?
Isn't it? I thought it was a Grade 1.
And it's the worst rated horse at the festival. No idea how it's even got Grade 2. I'm surprised. That's news to me. It's a poorly in ratings. It's a poor rated race with usually one outstanding performer who's 10 to 20 pounds better than the rest.
Well, that was certainly the case with Loughnane this year.
Well, listen. Well, we criticised Jockey Club, but well done. You've made the right move. This smacks of Nevin Truesdale, who appears to me to not take any nonsense from anybody, and unfortunately being moved out by the Jockey Club. But the fact of it is, it just smells of Nevin. He's just basically taken the bull by the horns and said, right, fine. It's time that we address the problem of odds-on chances at the Cheltenham, which Ali has correctly highlighted here. There are far too many. It's uncompetitive. It's boring. It's dull. People are not going to pay for that. And the numbers, 10,000 people down every single day, reflect that. So, yeah, good on the Jockey Club. Recognise the problem. Cap the races, not just the Mares Hurdle, but cap it across the programme and make sure that the right horses run it with the right band. And if it knocks out the noses out of joint of a few trainers, well, so be it.
Yeah. Before anybody types in their comment going, you idiots, it is a Grade 1. Ali's right. It is a Grade 1. Ali is indeed correct. I have COVID for the second time this year, so I have that brain fog where my mind is just not thinking particularly clearly. But well done. A point well made. And also, just before we move on, I echo everything you just said about Nevin Truesdale too. I don't think Nevin really got the opportunity to showcase what he could do in the leadership position at the Jockey Club. COVID, many problems facing British racing. I would be delighted to see him as the CEO of the British Horse Racing Authority, because I think it needs somebody who is a proper horse racing fan and somebody who will not take any nonsense. But we shall see how all of that unfolds. We'll move on to the racing, shall we? And start with the milers. First of all, I think one of the performances of the week is Richard Hannon's Rosallion. He was taking on all of the 3 Guineas winners from England, France and Ireland, and he emerged on top through a superb ride from the incredibly confident Sean Levey, and he had every right to be confident, Ali, because Richard Hannon was saying beforehand he's the best horse he's ever trained, and now we know why.
Yeah, and good on Richard Hannon saying that. Not too many trainers can put their neck on the line, and he's trained some very good milers in particular. I thought he was fantastic. Disappointing about Notable Speech, who I really liked before the Guineas and was obviously so special in the Guineas. But actually looking at the way the race was run, Notable Speech did have to come from a little further back. He did have to go wide. So whether he was race fit at the Guineas, whereas Rosallion, hadn't had a run before. So I'm not ruling Notable Speech out, but Rosallion looks a very special horse, and is one apiece. So looking forward to them meeting again. I guess we open up the can of worms, or not the can of worms. We open up the debate about Godolphin's Royal Ascot team, and were they firing on all cylinders? Charlie Appleby's got a huge team over in America at the moment. A lot of those horses that are based in America would perhaps be running at Ascot this week, particularly in the handicaps. He says that nothing has come to light about Notable Speech, but there is a question mark about whether they are sort of firing on all cylinders.
Well, this is the exact same. This is history repeating. Last year, they had a very strong start. They won the Loughnane, and then it just deteriorated massively, particularly at Royal Ascot. They didn't even have a 2-year-old runner, not only at Royal Ascot, at any of the major festivals last year. It wasn't until Arabian Crown and Ancient Wisdom emerged on the scene that they started getting group performers. And this year, Joseph O'Brien had more runners at Royal Ascot than Charlie Appleby. Charlie Appleby had 6 runners all week, and his 2 big guns completely bombed out. Like, that is really worrying, Geoff. And I think the point that Ali makes about race fitness, I did note with interest that you've taken a very strong stance on Notable Speech. You haven't said he's got no chance, but you've made him 15-2 for the Sussex, which I thought, that's a bold decision. But maybe your thought process is that he was just a hard fit horse going into the 2000 Guineas, and now that Rosallion has had his couple of races, he just can't match him.
Well, I mean, it's a great deal of difference between, the airstrip at Newmarket, as we know, where he finished well and won his race well. And good luck to Godolphin. I want Godolphin to do extremely well in British racing. We need competitiveness across the programme. And the absence of Godolphin over the last couple of years has been, seriously disappointing. It's a real negative for the sport. We need this group, Sheikh Mohammed, and all the money that he pumps into British racing to be rewarded. He deserves to be rewarded for his commitment to the British racing product, certainly. Over you're talking about, straight mile, round miles, all these kind of things and all the rest of the Sussex Stakes. Yeah, fine, we are against him in the Sussex Stakes at Goodwood. I think you have to be because he was really, pretty disappointing at Ascot. We were talking just before the pod, Emmet, about the absence of owners like, for example, great loss to British racing again, Haatem and Marquand. I can't remember if Haatem actually had his connections actually had any runners at Royal Ascot, and I miss great owners like that. Khalid Abdullah, of course, we've lost him as an owner, and I do worry. Not just about sort of the betting side and the income into the sport, but when we lose fantastic committed owners like that, it's great that that Kumar does so well in the same way that Willie Mullins does well, but we actually need good, strong competition to the likes of Willie Mullins, the likes of Aiden O'Brien, and we need Godolphin to do very well. And it was like in a way, kind of, although of course I was heavily against Rosallion at not Rosallion, but of course Notable Speech in St James's Palace. And yes, Rosallion was a fantastic winner of that. Will go on to win more races. Clearly, it's an extremely good horse, won it in great style. But to me, the worrying thing, if there is a worrying thing about the flat racing program, is the loss of great owners to the sport, and the fact that Godolphin have been in such poor form for a couple of years now. And I hope that they dig up some good performers.
Shadwell only had 9 runners at Royal Ascot all week. So Godolphin only had 6 for Charlie Appleby. Obviously, they had the winner for Wild Tiger. and Shadwell only had 9. Ali, you were going to say?
Well, yeah, Shadwell had a winner with Isra, and they have still got very good horses in training. And Juddmonte are still churning out beautifully, brilliantly bred horses. So, they had some very nice runners at Ascot. And of course, we want Sheikh Mohammed and Godolphin, and we want these massive owners in the sport. But they're not going to live forever, and there is always going to be the next big superpower coming in. And maybe, Wathanan doing so well this week is also brilliant for the sport. The likes of Victorious Racing, 2 winners this week. They love it, the Bahrainis. So, of course, I also want Godolphin to have success for British racing, but there are going to be some other superpowers that do come in.
Yeah, there are. I do wonder, though, if they're going to have, and obviously Watson have invested millions in a very short space of time. The breeding program is key, Ali, and Godolphin's investment in British racing has been a massive gift to the sport that's propped it up. There are now...
But it still is. I mean, they bought more Group 1 yearlings, Book 1 yearlings at Tassels last year, and they were ever present at all the sales. So it's not like they're shutting up shop in that sense.
Well,
but at Ascot, it's hugely, it looks, it's quite stark at Ascot, but whether they are, as I said, still investing heavily at the sales. And
yeah, that's where the mixed messaging comes in, because they've leased out one of their yards to a well-known trainer. They've also just put 2 of their yards in Newmarket up for sale. And the big thing that has most people talking is Charlie Appleby has opened a satellite yard in America, which is where Rebels Romance and Master of the Seas are. Rebels Romance, I'm convinced, would have won the Hardwick. He would have gone really close in the Prince of Wales. And Master of the Seas would have probably won the Queen Anne. He would have gone very close. Royal Ascot is the biggest week's racing of the entire year. And those older horses are in America, not racing at all, as opposed to competing at Royal Ascot. That's worrying.
It is worrying. They're going to earn a lot more money in America, though, won't they, if they want to, or they're going to earn more money when they're racing over the winter in Middle East. And I know that's another completely topic to open up. And there's nothing like Royal Ascot, and there's nothing like the history and the prestige of Royal Ascot, which is brilliant to be celebrated. But whether Sheikh Mohammed feels like he's been there and done that and wants to conquer new areas or new countries. Don't know.
How many runners did Godolphin have this week?
Charlie Appleby had 6.
Yeah, 12 in total.
12 in total in 35 races. That's a very worrying number.
Yeah.
Very worrying number, and a huge gap to fill. Sorry, I don't, yes, we would all like to believe that some new superpower is going to come out of the washing, but, these people have the money right now, but they don't seem to have the appetite whatsoever, as they used to have, for racing at, the Premier Race Meeting. And that's a deep concern. I'm not hearing anything from the British Horse Racing Authority, as usual, about this kind of thing. But we need to be pulling them back.
Yeah, well, factor that in with Qatar Racing, obviously having downgraded massively, and now Kipco have announced that they're no longer going to sponsor British racing to the extent that they were. They're going to keep their commitment to Ascot, but their commitment to everything else, the King George, for example, that's gone. They will still sponsor Champions Day, but everything else has been pulled back. That's another hammer blow. That's
a step. It's a step program of withdrawing. When you're not going to support, for example, the King George, which is a supreme event in the racing calendar. You're not going to support. So this is just another thing that just falls in the way of Betfred. It's just these kind of things are worrying, and the silence from Paul Borden Towers on these kind of matters is telling.
Yeah, I just think they're quite mediocre people. Sorry, Ali, you might want to cover yours, Ali. I just think some of the people at the British Horse Racing Authority are just quite mediocre. I think in the corporate world, you can earn so much money that do you really want to go and work in the governing of British horse racing where you don't really have a whole lot of power and it's just going to be headache after headache after headache and every decision you make is going to get bashed? Because if anybody can name me one thing Julie Harrington did that's been beneficial to British racing, I'm all ears. And aside from breaking up the tripartite agreement, what did she do in her tenure that's a radical revolution or a great improvement to the sport?
How long have we got?
As long as you want.
I'm racking my brain. It would take a little bit of time. She made the Grand National bit fucking faster. There were more horses in the Grand National that jumped the second last altogether. She less fallers in the Grand National. That was great. So like almost nobody failed. In fact, nobody fell in the Grand National. For example, the whip thing. She made the whip nicer, fluffier.
I love it, Emmet. You're just teeing them up, aren't you?
Fluffier whips.
Fluffy whips for all jockeys.
Persuaders.
Yeah, I think she ducked down during COVID times, like everybody else. I think she was good there. Keeping a nice silent profile. And when affordability came along, she was, refreshingly snobbish.
Yeah, did absolutely nothing. Was Julie Harrington at Royal Ascot?
Who knows?
I didn't see her, but
yeah,
who knows?
What a fantastic CEO of British Horse Racing. Anyway, Nevin Truesdell. The campaign begins here for Nevin to take over.
We wait on the next marionette.
Oh, Jesus Christ! But you need. This is where you need strong and effective leadership. Like, this is where you need people who are going to take the bull by the horns and make decisions that are not going to be very popular, but will benefit the sport. And I just don't see that happening in any way at the moment.
Yeah.
And Godolphin's decline is, well, exactly, Ali, you've just kind of nailed it there. The truth is, whoever is CEO of the British Horse Racing Authority does not have the power needed to be able to fix the sport. That's the problem.
Maybe we should cap the number of runners that O'Brien has at the Ascot Festival. Maybe say you can have 3.
That's another thing that has really annoying me. The gaslighting from the British Horse Racing Authority.
Let's really squash him. I'm sick of O'Brien. I'm sick of him. I know I speak for all the bookmakers across the country. We are sick of O'Brien. We don't want to hear about you. If Aiden O'Brien went tomorrow, we woke up in the morning, Aiden O'Brien, he's no longer with us, been assassinated, then no bookmaker would care. No bookmaker would care. We don't want to hear about Aidan. I'm sick of Aiden O'Brien. He's a very nice horse and he's doing very well. Fuck off.
Well, I got news for you. If, God forbid, anything did happen to Aiden O'Brien, there's a young fella called Dunica who'll just go in and do exactly the same
I know,
thing.
he's got no successful.
Oh, no, it's like the mafia. Well, it is a mafia, isn't it? It's a mafia, isn't it?
It's Hydra. Cut off one head, 2 more will take its place.
Yeah, that's correct.
Speaking of Aiden O'Brien, he got Henry Longfellow back, which was kind of expected, Ali. It's been this bizarre thing with Aiden's horses this year that they've all desperately needed their first run of the season, with the exception of Los Angeles. Henry Longfellow was no exception. He got the run of the race. He was beaten by the better horse, but there's a very positive sign of things to come with him. He's surely going to win a Group 1 this season.
He's got some nice entries. I looked at his entries. Coral Eclipse, Irish Derby unlikely, but Sussex Stakes, Irish Champion Stakes. So obviously thinking that way. It was funny when we were at Ascot though, because there was obviously Henry Longfellow did well on the first day. Did he have a winner on the second day? But then slowly the momentum started to build. And by Friday, I think Ryan Moore had 4 favourites for Aiden O'Brien. Going back to Geoff's love for the Aiden O'Brien favourites. But it felt like that, it just, you suddenly, anything he's got in there, Aiden O'Brien and Ryan Moore, they're going to be short favourites. But Henry Longfellow, nice to see him bounce back after messy race in the French Guineas. I'm not sure it's going to be a Group 1 over a mile. He might very well win one. I don't think he'll win one against Rosallion, unless it's possible, Ali, Rosallion could be a hostage to his tactics at the Sussex Stakes. Those hold-up tactics have worked very well at the Curragh and Royal Ascot, but they can be tricky to pull off at Goodwood. I like your pronunciation of, what do you call him?
Rosallion?
Rosallion. Rosallion?
Rosallion? It's me. I'm
Porta,
almost
Cato.
certainly butchering the pronunciation.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Rosallion, yes, as I don't think he'll go for the Sussex Stakes. So Henry Longfellow, I might be mistaken, but I would have thought that they would go up in distance and try and avoid Rosallion, possibly.
I have the pre-Jacques Lamarwa in my head for him, but they're probably going to go 10 furlongs.
Looks a very good horse.
Yeah.
I mean, looks a very good horse. If it was trained by anybody else than Richard Hannon, it would be an awful lot shorter.
Yeah.
Oh, I think Rosallion was the standout performer of the week, but spoiler alert, we'll come to that later on because there's many other horses to talk about.
Is there a prize for best of the week? Is there a prize?
There's a Final Furlong podcast mug for the trainer with the Jeff Banks Bet logo on it. somewhere, and Ali will present it.
That's class. Much better than those pit stairs, boys.
We'll get a bit of William Woodhams involved in it too, just to really confuse. Nick Luck can do the presentation too, just to really confuse things.
Is the screen big enough for William Woodhams? That's what I want to know. Because he's going to be a bit of a large lad. And I know I've had plenty of lunches with William Woodhams, and he's just...
Okay, you might say that. I will...
The crab, all that crab and avocado, that needs to stop.
Gravy Train is having the desired effect on William. I think we're going to have him back on the show in a couple of weeks because we're continuing the betting conversation, but more on that to come.
This is a paid advertisement from BetterHelp Therapy Online. I want to take a moment to talk about something really important: mental health. This year has been flying by, and it's a great time to reflect on what we've accomplished and what we still want to achieve. For me, therapy has played a crucial role in my life, especially during my teenage years. Growing up with an abusive father and dealing with a traumatic childhood was incredibly tough. Therapy provided me with a safe space to work through my feelings, develop positive coping skills, and set healthy boundaries. It was invaluable to me then, and it's invaluable to me now. If you've ever thought about starting therapy, but you were put off by the prohibitive costs or the idea of pouring out your feelings in a stranger's office, I recommend giving BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, making it convenient and flexible to fit into your schedule. You just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a registered therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time at no additional charge. With over 1,000 therapists registered in the UK, BetterHelp can connect you with professionals who have a wide range of expertise in mental health. And our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/furlong. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/furlong. Take a moment for yourself and get on your way to being your best self with BetterHelp at betterhelp.com/furlong.
The Queen Anne kicked off with a first Group 1 win in 7 attempts for Charyn, who proved that he is absolutely a top-class racehorse. The decision or the betting from Geoff Banks Bet is 11-2 Charyn for the Sussex Stakes. So you can sign up now if you fancy Roger Varian's older horse to beat the younger whippersnappers. I don't, to be honest, Ali. I think this was a really good performance, but he's beaten Docklands. With all due respect, I think beating Henry Longfellow reads better with a view to the miling division going forward.
What have you got? Is Charyn your second favourite, Geoff?
Sorry, Charyn.
Charyn's second favourite.
It's in the Sussex. I'll just have a look at
Henry Longfellow's second favourite at 4-1.
Yourself for a while. I'll have a look it up.
Yeah, I'm with you though, Emmet. I think it was great to see him win. I think Roger Varian's done an incredible job with him. But does he really have that star quality that Rosallion has? And perhaps not the strongest Queen Anne that has been in recent years.
At the moment, Rosallion is looked at 10 favourite and fully deserved. Henry Longfellow is 4-1. To me, that looks a little bit short, and I'll be doing something about that in a minute. Charyn is 11-2 and Haatem 11-2.
Yeah, we haven't touched on
Notable Beach is 15-2, which probably I wouldn't take a free bet now. But Rosallion could be this year's horse. As I said, if it wasn't trained by old Richard Hannon, you would see it odds on probably.
Yeah,
young Richard Hannon. He would hate to be talked about as old Richard.
I've seen Richard. He's not that young. He's not. No, he's not young.
Well, no, but the old man is probably the old Richard Hannon.
Yeah.
He's only just managed to shake off the junior moniker, and now Geoff just wants to start labelling him old Richard Hannon.
No, I'm not giving anybody labels. Not in Keir Starmer world. You can't give people labels anymore. We need to get with the program. We need to be more ideological now.
Will we do a Nick Luck impression and start doing a politics podcast as well? Final Furlong Politics.
Unfortunately, I'm wearing shorts, otherwise I would show you my fancy socks that I'm wearing today. But no,
that's no excuse. Come
I'm trying to keep up with Nick.
You can't tease us like that.
I think I went to a better public school than Nick. That's for sure.
Okay.
That's before the 20% hike, of course.
Charyn, in terms of do you think he can add to his Group 1 haul later this season, or do you think he's going to be vulnerable against the 3-year-olds, Ali?
I'm not saying I think his Group 1 deserved his Group 1, but when you're going to be lining up against Rosallion, it just depends on whether they can dance around each other for the rest of the season. There was probably another Group 1 in there for him. But if it's coming to the Sussex Stakes, so I think Rosallion's got the star quality if they're going to match up against each other. But Charyn is a very, very consistent horse, so they've done a good job with him.
I agree. I think Rosallion, to use the proper pronunciation, is the better of the two, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing that Sussex Stakes. Hopefully all of them will be involved. There's another reason to like Rosalind's performances, and that's because Haatem backed up his performance. Rosallion. What has happened? COVID, brain fog, that's what it is. Obviously those vaccines are really working, by the way. Jesus Christ. Anyway,
very helpful.
Are we allowed to say that on YouTube, or do we have to say they're safe and effective, obviously, and you can get it? I actually had a booster for breakfast. I had a booster for breakfast. I got 5 vaccines, 3 vaccines, 2 boosters, and I got COVID 4 times, and each time I got it was after it. So obviously they're working great. Tremendous stuff. Stuff. Ali?
Stop having boosters, stop having vaccines.
Never again.
Never again. Only 9 billion people survived COVID, so that's a pretty good number. So well done, the vaccines.
Yeah, if you're aware of what happened in Congress last week or 2 weeks ago with Anthony Fauci, we should all be out in the streets with pitchforks.
He's still walking free. He's still out walking free, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
Fauci,
the man responsible for the entire thing, all of it.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. It's a clown world. It's an absolute clown world. Anyway, Haatem, while Godolphin are not quite firing on all cylinders, with the exception of the international racing, and particularly in America where Charlie Appleby just seems to be able to crush everybody, Haatem are starting to crush everybody in the UK. Watan are starting to crush everybody in the UK, and did that again with their recent purchase, Haatem. They bought him from somebody who wouldn't want to sell racehorses either, so they obviously paid an awful lot of money for him. And there was a huge amount of confidence in Haatem. I know that Richard Hannon Sr., old man Hannon, was very confident about Rosallion in the St. James's Palace Stakes. My God, I got it right. But his confidence about Haatem beforehand in the Jersey Stakes was off the charts, Ali.
They love him, don't they? They absolutely love him. He's just, he's a real, well, sounds awful, he's a real trier, but I mean, he's going to be one of those horses that gets a real fan following, isn't he? I think he's fantastic, and he's not to say that I don't think he's as good as Rosallion, but he could be right up there. He's definitely a Group 1 winner if they can pick the right race. That's what the Prix de la Forêt Arc weekend. That's 7 furlongs, but he seems to be just he's pretty versatile with that. But I think every time Richard Hannah's spoken about the two of them, he's always said Rosallion is the star horse, and we think he's fantastic. He's the best horse I've ever trained. But then he sort of has a real soft spot for Haatem. Haatem. Again, we're going to have to disagree with our pronunciations.
Yeah. I think you need, if you're going to come on these pods, you need to get the pronunciation right.
You're talking to me?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Haatem.
I think Haatem was. I was watching the race from the sides, just up, I would say, about the half furlong marker, and I was certain that Kikula was going to overhaul Haatem, so it was a very game performance, but not as yet a Group 1 performer for me. And River Tiber, by the way, I think was in the same race, was horrid.
Yeah, he ran no race at all.
Horrid.
He's becoming a very infuriating racehorse. This is the horse that Ryan Moore was saying was towering over all of his rivals down at the start in Coventry last year, and talking about him as their Dewhurst horse back then, before City of Troy emerged on the scene. And he just has not gone forward.
Not another best ever, is it?
At the time, one could argue that Ryan Moore was certainly suggesting that River Tiber might be one of the best 2-year-olds, but that then quickly was replaced by City of Troy.
That's an awful lot of best evers.
Followed by Henry Longfellow. And, yeah. If you wanted to go back, Johannesburg, George Washington, Little Big Bear, we can go through it. Hey, somebody's got to get those quotes for the marketing brochure, right? The Coolmore brochure is not going to write itself.
Absolutely.
Got to be. It's
Absolutely. I would pay 200 grand to get in bed with River Tiber.
We shall see what he can do. I wouldn't give up on him. Maybe sprinting, maybe racing in America. Who knows? To the middle distance horses, and Auguste Rodin, another one of these potentially greatest of all time horses. So it was very clear, Ali, that Auguste Rodin had become if he's gotten out of bed on the right side, he'll crush everything. But if he doesn't feel like it, then he's going to run like a horse who's had a really bad bleed, like his mother did. She burst really bad blood vessels back in her days running in France for Aiden O'Brien. That was on record. We haven't been able to understand what the hell is going on with Auguste Rodin. But then he was proven to be mortal. He bleeds. He was beaten fair and square by White Birch in the Tattersalls Gold Cup with no White Birch to worry about. The market spoke in his favour, and he's back in the winner's enclosure. I loved this performance from him, and I think that Good to Firm Ground is going to see him in a proper light. What did you make of the performance?
Yeah, I thought it was impressive. It's funny looking at his form because it's win-win last, win-win last. It's not actually against White Birch was the first time he's been beaten when he's supposed, he's run a decent race. I didn't think well, obviously in Spiral you're going to put a line through her run. She didn't seem to be enjoying it or that on the day. Who else is in there? You've got Alphalia, is not a Group 1 horse. Zarakem, who really outrun his odds. So I didn't think it was a particularly strong renewal, but he got the job done. And it'll be very interesting when he comes back for the King George, presumably, and he'll be up against possibly some very good 3-year-olds, which we'll get onto in a bit.
Yeah, 400 Group 1 wins for Aiden O'Brien. It's no wonder Geoff Banks hates his guts and wants him gone. He, of course...
It would be true to say, Emmet, that we've lost in all 400 of those races. So that's a pretty impressive number. That's what you call good form. But, I mean, in terms of that race, Auguste Rodin was probably, on reflection, the best value at Royal Ascot, 13 to 8. Don't forget that In Spiral was carrying the unseemly weight, welter burden of the racing bloggers' money. So I think he backed In Spiral apparently to win another race at the festival. But, that was a welter burden for him to carry. But the fact of it, Auguste Rodin, 30 to 8, that was the value bet at the meeting. And, I know this horse can get beat. White Birch was pretty impressive at the Curragh?
Yeah.
And I saw him, and that was a majorly impressive performance. So obviously he's going to have the measure of Auguste Rodin going forward. But Auguste Rodin's predominant form. He's a spectacular racehorse. Some days he just comes out and you just can't be bothered. That's fine. We all get like that. But most of the time, Auguste Rodin is very hard to beat. Yeah,
the betting that you've gone for the King George is 2-1 Auguste Rodin. Obviously, he blew out in that race last year. I think you just have to. You have to just bite the bullet. If you're with him, you're with him. And
he won't be that price on the day, will he?
No.
So it's just a case of whether targets, that kind of thing, whether he turns up. If he does turn up, he won't be that price.
It's also a field that's going to cut up quite badly because I can't imagine City of Troy will run. He's second favourite with Geoff Banks' bet. Ambiente Friendly might, but Irish Derby would be more appealing to him, I'd say. Blue Stocking, we'll see her in the Pretty Polly next. Luxembourg, that's probably the more likely target for the Aiden O'Brien horses. I think you might have overpriced Luxembourg there at 7s.
That'd be silly. And only won the Coronation. I mean, anybody, I could win that. There's a bunch of old timers. The bottom line is, you're absolutely right to say, of course, Auguste Rodin won't run a race up against City of Troy. I mean, Christ, which one would Michael Taylor have to put his money on? But the fact of the matter is, they're not going to face up against each other, and so it's just an anti-post bet right now as to which way you think which performer will turn up. Yeah, more likely Auguste Rodin than City of Troy.
Ali Vance, Aiden O'Brien comes to you. He says, "Can you be my race planner? Where do you send Auguste Rodin?"
To Ascot, definitely.
I would too. King George, all the way. I think it'll be the same as last year. Both himself and Luxembourg will go for it and tear it up amongst each other. Whoever comes out on top comes out on top. Unless Shamey can come back, all is forgiven, and Shamey Heffernan can just go a little bit softly as Auguste Rodin looms up.
Not more team tactics. Come on.
How dare you? The French horse.
Where's the French horse in the betting?
Yeah, he's not there. I know he's a gelding, but he can run in the King George, Geoff. Why is Why is the French
Which horse
horse?
which horse are we talking about?
Khaadem,
Oh, that Caligani thing. Oh, yeah, we'll probably introduce him. We'll put him in very short now that you've highlighted him.
Yeah,
You need to make money out of that thing.
That I would be looking at that. And Isle of Jura. What have you got that on at?
Isle of Jura is 12.
I think that's about right.
It needs to pick up. It won very nicely the other day, obviously, but it needs to pick up. You're not going to beat an inform, or let's put it this way, Auguste Rodin on a going day.
No, I agree. I think it's a nice.
You're not going to get it close.
Quite a nice price, though, isn't it?
Isle of
Jura any shorter.
Yeah.
I'll make a bold prediction about Isle of Jura. I thought that was very good, but if he was to take on Continuous in the King George, you're going 14-1 Continuous. I'd take that all day long. If Continuous is the Coolmore runner, he'll step forward massively from that run. You can forget about that at the weekend.
Ambiente Friendly is an interesting performer, but again, I'm looking at that and I think that should be a bigger price.
How impressed were you with the French horse, Ali?
Yeah, I was impressed. I was there that day. I'm surprised you haven't got him in the King George. That's a race that produces really good horses. Pile Driver won that. They went and won the King George.
King of Steel.
At 6 lengths. He was visually the most impressive, one of the visually most impressive winners of the week, I thought. In what was a good renewal of that race. Plenty of runners. I don't remember who was favourite.
Diego Velasquez, who on reflection, Aiden O'Brien didn't really want to talk about in the stable tour, and I should have taken that hint.
Yeah, there was some of those good ones. I thought it was a deep race, not necessarily. It was a big field, Space Legend. But I thought that's the way he won it, 6 lengths. He was impressive, and I would looking forward to seeing him back at the King George. So, and France's Henri Graffard is an excellent trainer. He wins a lot at Ascot. Plenty of those meetings.
Henri could take over the training of Big Rock and Blue Rosin, who've both forgotten how to be racehorses with their new trainer. With all due respect. The man has a 6% lifetime record on turf. What are they doing?
Yeah, Big Rock was unfortunate the way the race panned out, but
not good. To quote a presidential candidate, not good. Illinois, Ali, can he win the St. Leger, or could Highbury take a massive step forward?
No mega thoughts on this. I think didn't Aidan sort of said that he was a bit of a baby and he was hanging across the track, wasn't he? But Aiden O'Brien's got a bit of a monopoly on the St. Leger in recent years. So whatever his number one is. Who was your second one, did you say?
Highbury, the stable companion who was second.
Yeah, I think Illinois is probably more than likely at the moment, given that the connections then said that he was a work in progress and still learning, which is always what you want to hear.
Yeah. Geoff Banks' bet goes 4-1 about Los Angeles for the St. Leger, 5-1 Illinois, 8-1 Highbury. I'd be more interested in Illinois, to be honest. I'm not so sure Los Angeles will be going this direction. They seem to be really talking him up for the Irish Derby. Your thoughts on the race, Geoff?
No opinion right now. They're just so long away. I'm thinking. I was just looking at value bets at the Royal Ascot, and obviously I put up Auguste Rodin as a spectacular value at 30-8. But the other value appears to have been Kyprios at 11-10. What did you think of that? As a price, running up against horses like Vauban, for example, who must have thought he'd been downgraded to the bumper. Such a lot of very, horses where perennial horses that turn out at the Ascot Gold Cup. Gregory and it would just turn out to be basically spectacular value on a horse that is absolutely laid out for that race every single year.
I'm amazed.
Fantastic horse, Kyprios.
Yeah, he's a fantastic racehorse, particularly given the fact that he nearly died this time last year, and yet they've managed to get him back to. Okay, it wasn't ideal towards the end of last year when he was beaten by a horse who was quite ill-fated afterwards. I think he's doing okay in Dubai, Roger Varian's horse. And then Trawlerman, somehow Frankie Dettori managed to galvanise him and beat him on Champions Day. Maybe that was a rare occasion where Ryan Moore hit the front too soon, but there was none of that this time. And he just looks back to his best, Ali, and quite frankly, just better than everything else.
Yeah, it was a great race. It was such a good... If people always talk up the Gold Cup as the feature race of the week, but over those 2.5 miles, the fact that they were eyeballing each other for 2 furlongs out, it was a brilliant race to watch. I think that looking down, Coltrane's a solid horse. Gregory was a sort of one that people thought we're gonna be improving on, but I think it's a shame that obviously Kyprios missed last year, and it's going to be difficult to emulate the likes of Yates. But it was good to see him back, and I thought it was really enjoyable race to watch.
And these two should have a good old rivalry for the rest of the season as well. There's every reason to think that at Goodwood in particular, over the flat 2 miles, the Trawlerman might be able to turn the form around. But I just think Kyprios is different league. And now that he's back in the winning groove, Geoff, he'll probably stay winning.
Of course, the other factor, the telling factor, when you were watching it coming up the Ascot straight, you just knew that Ryan Moore was just going to best within Buick.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm afraid, these things do come down to jockey talent. When you talk about the extra few pounds of weight, just Ryan Moore is just a far better jockey than William Buick. I see no reason why Kyprios, who I think won in the as he liked basically, Ascot, no reason to think that he can't be winning in the Goodwood Cup. Yeah,
he won it 2 years ago. He really should go and win it again. Buick had a tough week. Like, the ride on King's Gambit was awful. That horse goes forward. That's why he's excelled going forward. I don't know what the hell he was doing, taking him back. And you could see what it meant to him when he had the winner on the Saturday for the same connections. But he needed that. It was a tough week for him.
It's hard to understand, over and over again. I mean, and I do mean over and over again. Fine, I don't sit on horses for a living at 40 miles an hour. Thank God I don't do that, Christ. I wouldn't last a week. But the fact of the matter is that Ascot is an incredibly short run-in. And if you're not handy at the two, with 2 to go and you're turning in and all the rest, you've got hell to pay to get past everything. Unless you like several pounds well in, of course that can happen. But so far back, King's Gambit, that was just a shocking ride, really it was. I'm delighted. It was a shocking ride. Thanks very much. I'd like to buy him dinner at Harry's. But the fact of the matter is, it was just a poor ride.
Yeah. He was saying something on X that he's new to X and that it seems like a better place when you win. But with all due respect, like that was a bad day at the office. Like, we've all made mistakes. And when you make a mistake, you have to hold your hands up and say you were wrong. That was a pretty bad mistake. It was an awful ride. This episode of the Final Furlong podcast is only possible with your support, listening and watching, and with the support of our sponsors. So give me 60 seconds to tell you about Jeff Banks Bet. Betting on horse racing used to be very simple. It was us, the punter, versus them, the bookmakers, the old enemy. But today, betting with online bookmakers is zero fun. Online betting companies promise you the world, but if you have the nerve and the audacity to place a winning bet, they will make you jump through endless hoops just to access your cash. It is not fair and it's not fun. And betting is supposed to be fun. Jeff Banks is different. He's one of the most recognizable faces in British racing. He's got pitches at racecourses all across the United Kingdom. He is a true horse racing fan. And while Jeff very much promotes responsible betting, he is standing up and fighting back against these insane affordability checks. Affordability checks that will destroy the levy and kill British racing. Sign up to jeffbanks.bet right now. Use our promo code FFP500, and not only will you get access to a bookmaker who values your custom, who is a racing fan, but he'll give you best odds guaranteed on British and Irish racing, and he'll give you 10% cash back on net losses after your first month, up to £500. Gamble responsibly, 18 plus only, begambleaware.org. It's tradition refined with modern tech and unbeatable odds. Use our promo code FFP500 and place your bets now with Jeff Banks Bet. The sprinters, Inisherin by Shamadal, dropping back in trip, is just bred to be better than the sprinters, and that was my feeling going into the race. That's how it's worked out. He's just bred to be better, and he is. He'll face off with Khaadem, who's the first dual winner of the race since 1959, and Asfoora, who's barely in the top 10 of Australia's sprinters. The Australians were laughing at Henry Dwyer for bringing that horse over to Royal Ascot, and now she's a Group 1 winner in Britain. I think her winning really showcased that our sprinters are both Britain and Ireland, but just not up to much, Ali. So I'd expect Inisherin to go and win the July Cup on the back of this. But of the three sprints, what did you make of them?
Yeah, I think you're right, but I think that's been for a number of years. The British and Irish horses have been playing second fiddle to the Australian sprinters. They've got a really good. I mean, I'm not saying that we don't, but they, the reason Asfoora's over here is because they've got so many really top class sprinters. I think on a side note, I think it's great that Asfoora did come over and did win, and Asfoora coming over and is not in the same league as the likes of Black Caviar and Nature Strip, who's won the race more recently, that it might encourage a few more Australian owners to bite the bullet and to come over. So that's the hope. They were brilliant on the day. I think they really added to the atmosphere of the day, and it kind of really got the meeting going early doors on that Tuesday. To have that international flavour and then to have them winning. And there were some brilliant pictures of the VRC chairman in the royal box fist pumping King Charles in typical Aussie style when Asfoora was winning. And you don't get that normally. It was some super pictures. I thought Asfoora needs it fast and needs 5 furlongs. Inisherin, I think, is a little bit more obviously slightly more flexible, but I think Kevin Ryan is a master with these types of horses. He thinks he's only going to get better with more under his belt. So I think he, at the moment, is the one to beat in the July Cup.
Yeah, I would completely echo everything Ali just said. Geoff, your thoughts on the sprinting division now?
Well, I thought the move bringing Inisherin back from a mile, ran in the Guineas last time, as we know, was a clever move. Was an impressive winner during the course of the week. Again, to see the Australians bag a winner, that's good for Ascot. It's exactly what we want to see. They're going to bring their performance over and all the rest of it. So, but Inisherin was a good winner. It was good. It was a smart move. July Cup.
You've gone 5-2.
Yeah, definitely going to be hard to beat.
He just wins.
Yeah,
I think he just wins.
What's Big Ev's?
Ooh, good question. Ooh, do you have Big Ev's even priced? Because if you do, he's a big price.
Yeah, but he would be a big price.
He wins too.
Shocking performance this week. So yeah, maybe been taken out.
Maybe they're going to stick to 5 furlongs.
Five.
I think he's not even listed at the moment.
No.
Okay, Van Dijk, who was absent from Royal Ascot, is a 6-1 shot. Elite Status, another one who was absent. That is a slight downer on this, Ali. There was a number of horses who didn't turn up to the race. So does that devalue his performance with a view to going forward when he's now 5-2 for the July Cup?
Slightly, but then Van Dijk was disappointing last time. So although what he did last year was outstanding, it wasn't like he's coming in here and we know that we've got an absolute bullet there. So it was always question marks over him as well. So I think Inisherin's still the one to follow moving forward.
Okay. Aiden O'Brien's ability to improve a filly is just ridiculous. He did it again with Port Fairy. I think she's going to be very, very interesting in the Irish Oaks next time out, and she may very well be able to beat Dermot Wells' filly, who'll be going for back-to-back Oaks after her brilliant Epsom victory. But the 2-year-olds I wanted to talk to you about, Ali, are the 2 Aiden O'Brien fillies. If you told me that the best 2-year-old performance all week will be Fairy Godmother before Royal Ascot, I would have believed you. But if you'd said it'll be an Aiden O'Brien filly, I would have just said, yeah, well, obviously it's going to be Fairy Godmother. But Bedtime Story had other ideas. That was the most visually impressive performance I've seen from a 2-year-old since Lady Aurelia.
Yeah, but it just feels like deja vu. And I enjoy Aiden O'Brien's talking up of his 2-year-olds and Ryan Moore. But weren't we just talking about 20 minutes ago about this is the best ever, and they just roll on to the most recent one. And I'm not saying that with any inference towards their performance or anything. They were brilliant, but I can't get too excited about looking ahead to next season's classics at this time of year. Sorry. So they both I only saw the one on the Friday, and she looks lovely. Exciting times ahead, but I can't be drawn. Sorry, Emmet.
Hold on, Ellie. Hold on a second now. Are you telling me that you would rather see these horses back these performances up in a Group 1 race before taking 3-1 about them for the 1,000 guineas? Are you mad, Ali? Why aren't you just getting excited now? It's the greatest 2-year-old performance of all time, Ali.
And they're both by which sires? Yeah, exactly.
Night of Thunder for Fairy Godmother and Frankel for Bedtime Story.
Okay.
So neither by
That's
a Coolmore sire, which is interesting.
Yeah, interesting.
For the Chesham winner, so we've seen Pinatubo and Churchill emerge from the Chesham. This is Aiden O'Brien's 7th victory in the race, and he won it with a filly in September in 2017 before she went on to pretty good stuff afterwards. I think it's the 5th. She's the 5th filly to win the race as well. But Pinatubo and Churchill were able to go on and be multiple Group 1 performers. Pinatubo wasn't as good at 3 as he was at 2. But what do you make of Bedtime Story, and how do you compare the two going forward? Because they're both bred to do better at 3, technically, but they're also both very clearly massively ahead of their opposition right now.
Visually impressive. The only thing about, so it listed class race to Chesham, you just wondered about what was in behind, but the horse could do no more than what she did on the day. And basically it was all over at the 2 furlong marker, which is pretty impressive. So what's next for that horse? Don't know. Certainly not listed class anymore.
No, for sure. She's a Group 1 horse. I'd take Fairy Godmother, by the way, over the 2.
Why?
I have a feeling the Albany is a better race, and she was stopped in her run 3 or 4 times. Like, she was going to be a very unlucky runner-up. The very same as the last day. She was going to be desperately unlucky and was going to stay on for second, and maybe she'd get compensation the next. And suddenly she's like, no, I have a better idea here. Like, Ryan Moore's comment to ITV right after the race was, I asked this horse to do way too much, but she got me out of a hole. She's a very, very good filly.
It's extremely impressive. And I would definitely take Fairy Godmother over Bedtime Story, given the run that Ryan Moore experienced in that particular race. Clearly, Heaven's Gate was waiting in front. And it was, but there's no question that Fairy Godmother was the correct winner of the race, and basically ran all the way across. I think started off in Ascot, went down to Sunnydale, and came back to Ascot, and still won the race. Extraordinary performance, really, and certainly far more impressive than Bedtime Story.
Yeah, an explosive turn of foot, and it's the second time she's displayed that, so it's not a fluke. I think she'll back that up. I'm fascinated by Bedtime Story's pedigree, given that she's by Frankel out of Mecca's Angel. We don't know how much Coolmore paid for her, but she's a dual Nunthorpe winner, so I'm sure they paid a considerable amount for her. But you would imagine that she'll be better at 3. So it's going to be interesting, but Fairy Godmother is the one that I would side with. That pretty much wraps it up. Any of the other 2-year-olds you want to highlight very briefly, Ali? Any of the Haatem ones?
No. I mean, great that they got a bit of payback for some of the investment they've made in the last 2 weeks. And nice for Brian Meehan to get back in some decent form. He's had a quiet few months, so I think he surprised himself with his 50-1 winner of the Coventry on the first day.
Yeah, I think
80-1
80-1 in the Coventry. It was insane.
Amazing.
And Billy Loughnane this was one of the great...
That was one of the stories of the week, wasn't it? Billy Loughnane.
Big time.
His infectious smile. He was brilliant. And to have 2 wins when you should be doing your A-levels, you're 18. That was a good feel good story that came from the weekend.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I also think it was really important that with all the media attention on, oh no, Frankie's not here. What's Ascot going to do? And then we get James Doyle, Ryan Moore, Billy Loughnane, the brilliant Callum Shepherd ride in the Hardwick Stakes, and then the emotion from him afterwards. Like, Frankie has left Britain. He's put it in his rearview mirror. And I respect Frankie Dettori as a jockey. And I'm delighted to see him having all that Grade 1 success in America. But we need to leave him in the rearview mirror now too, and allow Oisin Murphy, James Doyle, Ryan Moore, Billy Loughnane, Callum Shepherd, and Holly Doyle, and everybody else to thrive. Rossa, Ryan, Tom Marquand. We've got some fantastic jockeys. They might not have his charisma and personality, but they've got incredible talent, Geoff.
Yeah, of course they do. Give them a chance. I think we talked in one of the last podcasts about replacements for Frankie Dettori. You're not going to replace him. It's simply not going to happen. Not now, but in time you will. Yeah. It took a long time for Frankie Dettori to develop that all-encompassing skill that he had in the saddle. So how old is Frankie now? Is he 50 or I don't know 15. How old he is, but he is. He developed his skills, and he maintained his fitness for decades. He'll be hard to replace. Yeah, sure, but there are other guys. Give him a chance. I noticed, by the way, in this podcast, as usual, you're talking about all the performers where the bookies done their money. That's a bad habit that I've been. Every single one of these bloody podcasts, or Nick Lark and all these people talking about horses where the bookmakers have done their absolute stuns. It's a bad habit. You need to get out of this habit. Talk about the races where the bookies made a lot of money. And there were, I would say overall, it's important to say that, in terms of the industry, I think it was the bookmakers edged the week.
Yeah, I think you definitely did.
So tough. Definitely.
Gamble responsibly.
Smiles away.
That little series, gamble responsibly.
We know the Gambling Commission doesn't watch things like this. When you talk about gambling responsibly, when people lose their money and that kind of thing, because they're a bit busy on the politics right now, finding out about £100 bets, 5-1 winners, and shit like that. But in reality, it was a mildly losing week for the punters, and that's good news for the bookmakers. And I know that there are a lot of people tuning in that'll be happy to hear that.
Just briefly on that. Couldn't that be described as election interference, what the Gambling Commission are doing? Because they've never investigated something like this before in the way that they are. And it turns out, allegedly, the person who leaked it may very well have worked for Keir Starmer in the past.
For 15 years, you mean? So you worked for Labour for 15 years, head of PR. I mean, it's just coincidence. It's purely coincidence. They released the information about an investigation into the Conservative Party or Conservative Party workers and the piffling little bets that they've had just in the run-up to the election to give the media something to grab onto. Look, we know the Conservatives are toast. We're toast. I'm not going to vote Conservative. They haven't supported business, and we know that they're toast. And we've slightly got off the topic of horses. I thought we normally talk about horses, but anyway, this is a good topic. But interestingly, the Gambling Commission has never revealed that they've either what they're investigating or the results of any investigation before everything has been said and done until this time. So it's quite interesting. Maybe they're getting into politics. Maybe they're getting into politics again.
It's a very suspicious one. My spidey senses were tingling when the story started to emerge. And something's not right about this. I've never seen the Gambling Commission be as aggressive about an individual in the way they are on this one. And obviously, look, I'm Irish. I don't have a vote in the UK election. You're going to have to fight that one amongst yourselves and decide who you think is best for you, and do vote, please. But I don't like the way that's played out.
Which liars do we vote for? That's the problem.
Well, therein lies the problem with politics of the Western world, I'm afraid, because this is what we had to decide in Ireland for the European and local elections. Which liar do you vote for? And it's the very same in Britain, I'm afraid, as well. So yeah, have fun picking that one out for yourselves.
It is another mayor's hurdle, isn't it? So it's a bad lot. It's literally a bad lot.
Yeah,
Labour's going to win almost by default. There's nobody else there.
Which corrupt politician would you like in charge of the corrupt politics of Britain?
Yeah.
It's basically your choice. ITV Racing. There was a fascinating article written by, I think it was Alan Sweetman. It was indeed in the Racing Post today. He said, and I quote, "There were many good things about ITV's coverage of Royal Ascot. However, I was struck more than ever this year by an overpowering atmosphere of veneration and reverence. At times, it was like watching an extended promotional video for the sport. Stereotypes in Britain's showpiece meeting poses a particular problem in its visible portrayal of social stratification. Intrinsic to the occasion, you have royal patronage, the patrony, the pageantry, the fashion and glamour. Royal Ascot would not be Royal Ascot without any of these components that afford a distinctive charm, a beguiling mixture of tradition and history with a vibrant modern sport. However, the net effect is that its participant owners, trainers and jockeys are privileged to bathe in a sea of uber-polite respectfulness. There was no lack of intelligent analysis, but last week's ITV coverage was defined by its tone of relentless positivity and cloying over-enthusiasm. And I think if you scroll through social media, that's very much a reflection of what people were really saying. There is a lot of likes for the ITV personnel, and I like the vast majority of the people who work for ITV Racing. I had the privilege of doing a short stint there. They all work very, very hard. And I think for Ali and I, it's an uncomfortable thing to criticize any broadcaster publicly. You might say something behind the scenes, but going on a podcast to slate another broadcaster's work, at the end of the day, we're all just trying to do the very best that we can with the skill set that we have. But your role is not a propagandist. Your role is to be a broadcaster. And I don't remember Channel 4 ever being like this. And maybe Channel 4, for them, it was a little bit easier. There was the BBC, who could be establishment, and Channel 4 could be anti-establishment. But it is a little bit too, everything's wonderful, everything's great. Yeah, Royal Ascot was fantastic. You don't need to keep telling us how great it all is.
ITV is a vanilla product. I mean, it's a vanilla product. I mean, they had the opportunity, for example, to put Nick Luck, for example, on the screen. But every once in a while, not very often, Nick Luck is I wouldn't say endlessly positive about the sport, but he breathes a lot of positivity about horse racing. But the fact of the matter is that as a broadcaster, he dares to criticise horse racing from time to time, and that is unacceptable to ITV. And I think, looking at the numbers, just looking at the base numbers, sure, we know that ITV is the last bastion of terrestrial broadcasting available to British racing, and no doubt that is why newspapers like the Racing Post have thrown their support resoundingly behind ITV Racing, and I can understand that completely. But the fact of the matter is that the vanilla product, that everything is marvellous, every ride is great, every horse is amazing, every racetrack is great, and every race is great, which is patently untrue, doesn't sit well with the fans of the sport. They seem to me to be targeting people who are not interested in horse racing and never will be interested in horse racing, and sort of showcasing other products of fashion, this, playing games and all this kind of stuff. And it's not what the core audience, who appear to have been almost abandoned, are interested in. What they're interested in is, form, looking at horses in the paddock, of course. ITV does a pretty good job of that. The betting, which ITV resoundingly ignores, except, of course, if it's their own betting product, their own little
Have you played the ITV7?
No, personally, I haven't done it. But, that basically, that's allowable. But the betting ring, I'm afraid, is largely ignored, except for a few gargantuan bets that were laid to Ascot to the. But it's too vanilla for the average viewer, and people are not stupid, and too often they are being treated as stupid, as stupid viewers. That they're going to go along with this theme that everything is amazing. What is wrong with saying, as for example you've highlighted earlier, Buick's ride on Gambit earlier in the week? What is wrong with saying, look, that just looks like a bad ride? And they'll judge right, sticking a microphone under his chin and sort of saying, right, what did you think of your ride there? You left it too late. You only had a couple of furlongs to go when you turned in, and you were a long way back. What do you have to say about that? Because, in every other sport, this would be absolutely normal. And in racing, I'm afraid, and it's a dull approach, that everything that is ever broadcast about racing has to be, it's uber amazing, it's superb. Everything is superb, the program is superb. But in the meantime, the viewers appear to be turned off to it. And the numbers do not lie. The numbers do not lie. The Grand National has gone from 15 million high down to 6 million now. It's not doing well. The sport is not doing well in terms of the base numbers. What you do about it, I don't know. I genuinely don't know, because it does appear to me to be the last saloon. Other programs, BBC are never going to come back to racing. Channel 4 are never going to come back to racing. So where does it go? Where do we go next? If we lose ITV, and by the way, one thing to say to, and I would say this to Ed Chamberlain, is a lovely guy. He's a great anchor, but the fact of the matter is that, if they cannot improve their numbers, ITV will walk away from the sport as a broadcaster, simply because, to put on an Alan Ladd, an old film with Alan Ladd in it will probably bring in more viewers than what they can. And at the end of the day, that's what pays the bills in broadcasting. So, at the moment, they're very committed to the product, the many hours of coverage at Ascot, which I think is really fantastic. It is fantastic how many hours they put on to the product, especially when the Euros are on. And they're clearly going to get 6, 7, 8 million people to watch the average European Cup game. But unless the people that are running the show, the producers notably, can do something about arresting the decline in numbers for watching the show, we're going to lose them. So get real, guys. We don't want to lose you as a product, but you producers at ITV, you're not doing a good enough job right now.
Yeah, I don't know why there isn't more of an emphasis on, like, Kevin is doing the stride analysis stuff, which your mileage may differ on that, but it's fascinating insight. And I think anything that gives you further insight into how a race was run, it's one of the reasons I love having Paige Fuller on the show when she breaks down the race IQ data. When you can provide interesting analysis, lean more into that. Ken Pitterson is there with his paddock expertise for 30 seconds. Like, why don't you have, we said this before a couple of weeks ago, why not have Ken alongside Francesca and Adele and lean into the expertise that the three of them have? And let's get the best of that. Where's the betting expert? There is no Graham Cunningham. There is no Jeff Banks. There is no Jim McGrath to talk to you about it. Kevin doesn't bet. He hasn't bet for years, which is probably why he's lent into the stride analysis. He has to reinvent himself as something else, which is perfectly fine because Kevin is then bringing great analysis to the show. But why don't you have a Graham Cunningham, or like Brian being in the betting ring is fantastic and his enthusiasm is great, but I would like a little bit more focus on what does the money mean? Why is it that NBC, when Nick Luck goes over to the Triple Crown races and the Breeders' Cup to work with them, they have two specialists talking specifically about the betting market, where the money's going and what this now means for their bets on the race. Are they still going to bet on a horse that's been cut from 5-1 into 2-1? What does that mean? There's nothing like that on ITV Racing. And that's what Big Mac made so exciting about the sport. It's what Jim McGrath made so exciting about the sport. I truly do not understand how that's just been cut out of it when it's such a fundamental part. They're all brand ambassadors for bookmakers. But they themselves can't understand how important that is for the fan. I don't get it.
I think ITV imagine that people are sitting at home with a great big Ascot hat sitting on there, lifting, we'll put on the next fashion segment because that's what we want to see. That's bollocks. The fact of the matter, what people are sitting at home is they've just had £5 each way on a horse, or they're thinking about having £5 each way on a horse, and that's your core viewers. And if you're not basically telling them, what's going down, what's going up in the market, where the money is, and all this, where the big bets and everything like that, that's basically what these are the people that probably get lost to the other networks like Racing TV, who focus a lot more, have a lot more energy on their betting, and at the races, of course. Although they, I think it was at the races who covered Ascot this week, but they have much more of a focus on these are the people that are sitting at home, Emmet. These are the people that are sitting at home watching the program. People either had a bet or want to have a bet, and that's what they're tuning into. That's what they're tuning into here. That's what they want to know. So not just the form, not just the paddock, but the betting markets. I'm sorry, of course I'm going to say that as a bookmaker, but I'm afraid it is true. We need to get away from this inherent snobbishness that pervades racing, that betting is something that's a bit dirty and people shouldn't be doing it and all the rest of it. 22 million people love a fucking bet in this country every single year. Get real. Get real. Get away from this puritanical idea that we shouldn't be doing this. We shouldn't be betting. We shouldn't be drinking. We shouldn't be smoking. We shouldn't be eating too much food. It's all nonsense. Stop telling us what to do and get down and dirty with what people are actually interested in life.
Channel 4 Racing did a positive and negative for the paddocks, for the horses going down to the start, and for the betting ring and the betting exchanges. You get the paddock, that's it.
The greatest betting anchor in racing ever, John McKerrick. The greatest betting anchor ever, backed up by Tanya Stevenson, fantastic little duo and everything. And people would tune in by their millions to watch this flamboyant, eccentric, misogynistic, everything that McKerrick was, but people would complain about what he said and everything else like that. But again, next week, they tune in again to watch him because he made it watchable because of his energy and his enthusiasm. And it was what Channel 4 did used to focus on. I'm not trying to say Channel 4 was better or ITV is better and all the rest of it. I think ITV are more committed than Channel 4 ever were in terms of the hours of coverage and the number of programs that they put on. That, I think, is unparalleled. But I think they need to get down and dirty with what people are watching the program for.
Yeah, they're very talented people. Just lean into what you're really good at, and you are good at all that stuff. You have the personnel to do it. You can make it fly. You don't need to make it a loose women-friendly audience show. You can actually have fun with it. Channel 4 did. BBC did. You can too. Ali, I'm obviously in Ireland. I do occasionally listen to the Today Show, but finally, them dropping the racing tips. This was something that was being floated at the start of the year. I think Greg Wood in The Guardian had written about it, that there was a suggestion they would. The BBC strongly denied it. So does this mean we can call them fake news BBC, were lying to us all along? What does it mean, them dropping the daily tips on the Today Show? How bad is that for racing?
Yeah, I think it's sad. I think from two reasons really. One is that just in the subconscious of people, with racing having at least 20 seconds 3 times a day on Britain's arguably sort of biggest morning show is a shame for racing, because it gives racing some sort of authority that they're part of the sports bulletin every day. But also it's a shame because it provides a little bit of narrative, fun, play on words, whatever you want it to be, whatever the tips can be that day. And so, as everything's been written about it today, I think it's disappointing. And it is another part of horse racing that BBC are dropping, given that we haven't seen a live horse race on BBC since 2012. Fewer and fewer races being reported on in terms of on Radio 5 Live. They used to be, they used to do wall-to-wall coverage of Cheltenham Festival, and now it's sort of dipping in and out on the main channel and on Extra as well. So, yeah, racing is becoming less a focus for BBC, which is a big shame. Still got tips on, you will be pleased, still got tips on BBC Radio Wales, the majors tips every morning.
Way!
Where is that?
Wales. BBC Wales? God.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure what that is. Do they have a football team?
Jeez.
Declining viewers.
No, not at the moment. You're right, yeah. No.
Declining viewers, declining sponsors, declining money in racing. Yeah. At what point does this sport wake up and smell the coffee? It's not just here, it's in Ireland, of course, as well.
Yeah.
I mean, Ireland's in a much better situation, I think, than British racing. But, attendances at racetracks, every number is going south and rapidly. I'm just wondering when racing wakes up to this,
I don't think it will, Geoff. I don't think it will. And I'm not so sure that Ireland is in the great position that people like to make out that it is. We can't get people going. It probably is. It's for every €1 the government puts into Irish racing, they get €13 back. So it's very beneficial for it to be state funded in the way that it is. But at the same time, the state are getting very, very frustrated with the Curragh figures. And they've called them in for Dáil hearings to explain where are the people? Why can't you get people to go there? You told us if we invested all this money in the Curragh, it would return this, and it's not happening. So we're heavily reliant on people like Coolmore and Shadwell and Darley and the Aga Khan and Juddmonte to fund our sport just as much as you are. And I don't know if that support is going to be there as much as it once was. There is also just an interesting side note. The BBC decided to announce that the winner of the Queen Anne was Audience, the winner of the Coventry was Al Quadra, and the winner of the King Charles III was Diligent Harry, because they were number 1 on the race card. They did it twice.
Oh, no.
I'm happy to pay out on those horses.
That's not the presenters, the excellent Kelly Cates' fault, by the way. she wouldn't have been watching the
That's
racing.
bad.
That's her producer's fault. Her producer should have fixed that. So yeah, they don't care about racing unless it's a negative story, in which case the BBC will be all over it. Ali, your highlight of Royal Ascot 2024 was?
The Australian winner on the first day.
I was not expecting
as in being there and the atmosphere and the you or me. That's from a non. I don't think she's gonna go and take the world apart, but I think just in terms of the highlight for me on the day and the celebrations and enjoying the atmosphere.
You have just reminded me.
Go on.
We have to contact the Irish Embassy to get citizenship for Tim Carroll because he has been excommunicated from the Aussies for place laying the horse.
They did as well. Obviously, I thought Rosallion was the most exciting horse to follow, as in his victory. I was delighted for Isle of Jura, Callum Shepherd. I love that horse, seen him running all through the winter in Bahrain and seeing him improve and improve. And he just means the world to that yard. So delighted with him and his owners as well. We were going to talk about some horses to follow. And Geoff, you haven't got the Melbourne Cup odds, have you?
What, in front of me?
Or just
Melbourne,
Melbourne
as in Australia.
Yeah, we got it.
Calandogan
7-1 with Jeff Banks bet.
Favourite. Could you believe? Because the reason I looked, I thought Bellocchio was a great winner for Willie Mullins, just bolstering his team
14
down under. And I wanted to see what price he was, and then I looked, and there's Calandogan at the top of the market.
So would you take Bellocchio at twice the price?
Yeah, I think. Well, yeah, he's got to get in. I think he has to.
Okay, well, I'll open an account for you. Don't worry, it'll be done by the end of the day.
25s.
25s?
Yeah.
No, you don't negotiate very hard. I genuinely thought you were going to say I'll take 66 and not a penny less.
Oh, Ali's signal had broken up. That is what she meant. She meant 50s. She meant 50 quid free bet at 50s.
Oh.
Well, the thing is, though, is this going to be... This will now... All Final Furlong podcast listeners will want this as well, so be very careful.
What, you want a charity bet? You're just going to stick 50 quid on... 50 quid on the city of Detroit to win the Sussex or something like that. Losing money and it's sort of damp squid. How's that?
Is there a deal for Ali though? Is she getting a big price and a free bet here?
What on? What's it called? Bellocchi.
Yeah,
she can have a free 50 quid at 20-1, should we say? But it's got to go to charity.
25 each way, yeah.
And not to injured jockeys. They've got millions and millions of pounds. So let's be a little bit more creative as to where we send that money. Let's send it to cancer. That's a good charity. I like cancer charities.
If you wouldn't mind, a friend of mine passed away recently, who was the CEO of the Mercy Hospital Foundation, and he died of cancer. Micheál Sheridan. He was a really lovely guy. Left behind 4 kids.
We'll put 50 quid on Bellocchio, 20-1 for Ali, and we'll put any winnings to cancer.
So
cancer research.
Ali, I managed to negotiate the free bet for you. The problem is the profits are not going to you; they're going to a more worthy cause, I'm afraid.
Yeah,
but on the plus side, yay!
What about
any other horses to follow?
I thought Big Ev's run wasn't as bad as all that.
Oh, come on.
I don't. I think...
Come on. It cannot beat the all age. It likes beating up on it on juniors.
No, I don't.
All age, honestly, it's pants.
I don't think it's too bad.
That would be for me.
I
was just my one, abiding memory from Ascot as far as the course is concerned is always every time I see Auguste Rodin win a race, I just think this is racing's superstar, and we need to grab onto that one a little bit harder. I think it would be harder to, promote Kyprios, but Auguste or Rodin, I just hope, after this year, we don't see him parked off to the Ethereal to make money for people.
Yeah,
he's super racehorse.
He's definitely going to be retired at the end of this season. I just hope it's not to Japan. I hope that he does stand at Coolmore feathered, or maybe shuttle to America, but not to Japan. I'd like him here. I think it was 260 mares Saxon Warrior covered last year, so there's a definite demand for that kind of stallion, and he would be a much higher class horse than Saxon Warrior was. He'll cost more as well, but I'd be with him. I'm also with you, Ali, on Big Ebbs. I think he was in front too soon.
Yeah, it was very hard.
Yeah, I'd keep the faith.
To win where he was, yeah.
I'd keep the faith with him.
The faith.
If you're going to go with Rosallion and Geoff is going to take Auguste Rodin, then I'm going to take Kyprios. I would easily go for any one of those two, by the way. I thought they were brilliant, but Kyprios coming back from the death, from being nearly dead, to regain the Gold Cup, and the fact that we asked Aiden O'Brien last week, is there the possibility if he wins, will you keep him in training? Yes. So he's coming back for a third. Hopefully he'll try and emulate this guy, Yates, if you're watching on YouTube, and win 4. Yeah, signed by the great Johnny Murta and Aiden O'Brien as well. So, yeah, I'm excited about that. Ali Vance, it's been a pleasure having you on the show again. Please God, we'll do it again sooner rather than later. I really enjoyed your company today and your insight. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. And as I said, yeah, sorry, didn't put on a slightly cleaner top, but
you look fabulous as always. I'm not sure if this is fishing for compliments or just you're genuinely
take it. On a Monday afternoon or Monday evening at whatever time. It's been a long day. I'll take any compliments.
Is this where we're supposed to say "nice shirt, Emmet"? Is that what?
Oh, you do, Emmet. You look beautifully presented and. As always, I don't know. It's getting late.
Oh, that was either the thumbs up or the finger, but I'm not sure.
Face. Oh no, it was thumbs up, but face for radio rating ideal. I just put on a nice shirt to try to make up for it. A bit. What you don't know is I'm a bit like Geoff. I'm also in shorts. Couldn't be bothered making a full effort, but we'll make the effort for here. And Geoff, I'm sure you're going to get an angry either WhatsApp if he has your number or a tweet from Ed Chamberlain. But aside from that, for expressing your opinions, how dare you?
I have a bad week if I get anything less than 200 angry tweets and emails. Then it's been a bad week. How dare you? How dare you? How dare you? Well, I suppose I dare.
And on that bombshell, we're done. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for watching the Final Furlong podcast. Did I say this? No, I did not. If you could like this episode, it would be much appreciated. If you could subscribe to us on YouTube, that would be much appreciated as well. And of course, we're available on all podcast platforms. From Ali Vance, Geoff Banks, and me, we'll talk to you again very, very soon on the Final Furlong podcast. Look after yourself and each other. God bless.
The Final Furlong podcast is proudly brought to you by Geoff Banks Bet. Join the excitement and sign up to Geoff Banks online now to get 10% off any net losses returned as cash after your first month of betting up to £500 at geoffbanks.bet.